Alright, so we just saw the trailer for Drive.
Yes. All I got out of it was a guy is obviously a really good driver, and so he drives around anybody as long as he doesn't get in trouble, I guess.
Not really the trouble thing, but he has that rule where like I'll be here for 5 minutes and then I leave, and like it's like very like cold, clear cut, and like if you don't fit with his plan at all, you just kind of are left. It's like whatever, he's doing the job and that's it. He doesn't give like a flying fuck about anything that like why you're doing what you're doing or whether or not you actually succeed or anything.
Okay. The other thing is
your own heart.
It looks like he gets involved with the family, and the dad gets into some big trouble, and the family gets threatened, so he ends up having to use his driving skills to help get some money to pay off these people who are threatening the family. I'm assuming it's some kind of mobs type kind of people. And he ends up getting the money, everything goes okay, and we learn an important lesson about family and driving.
Maybe not the lesson part.
Okay.
It's more of a...
I got the feeling like there's going to be a lot of driving, but not really long driving. Like I get the feeling like there's scenes of driving, but it's not like all about driving.
Yeah.
It's like there are moments where he's driving and it's like a lot story driven, I guess.
And the cool thing about the drive scenes, for the most part, is that they're not like drawn out weird like James Bond or Jason Bourne type things. Oh, we're blazing through streets and everyone's shooting at us and it's so crazy and we're gonna go fly through a building. There's the initial setup scene that just shows you how he does his job. That's actually not really relevant to the story. It's just showing you how good he is at it. For the most part, he's not even getting chased. He just keeps like evading cops. But there's so many after him, looking for him all over the place. He'll keep every time he evades one, he'll encounter another one. So he just has to keep getting through. And it leads up to the part where like it seems like he's getting away, and you think he turns on the radio, and it sounds like he's just casually fucking around because he's like turning on like the game to hear the score and stuff like that. He's actually hearing the progress of how far along the game is, so that he can pull into the parking structure of the baseball game as it's ending, and literally like put on the baseball cap and walk out like he's one of the people that was at the show the whole time. Just a really well done scene. Like it's really entertaining. How like it's thoroughly tense. You get the idea that this guy who doesn't say a single word the entire time is just like this very smart person, like knows what he's doing and everything. So it just makes it entertaining. You want to see like where this is going to go with this character. And as a whole, like he's just kind of one of the more interesting characters I've run into. Because he says very, very little. This is not a movie where you're into like exposition or anything like that.
Yeah.
And there's all these subtle things on his face, because his face does more than his actual words does. He barely says anything in most of the scenes he's in, and a lot of times he's almost childlike. It's really weird. Like he seems like this like ludicrously innocent person for what he does. But then you get these hints, like someone like approaches him about a job right in the middle of the bar, like in public. I don't remember the exact words, but he basically tells the guy that he needs to shut the fuck up or he's going to kick his teeth and make him swallow. And it's like this outburst of like very violent language out of nowhere for such an innocent character. Like this guy is capable of shit. Like this sign, like he seems like this innocent child throughout the movie for the most part, but you like realize like he's kind of like damaged goods. He's kind of fucked up. And by the end of the movie, there's scenes where like you're cheering for him because he's the protagonist. Like he'll like fuck some guy up and all right, but then like he's not done, and it keeps going, and after a while you're like, oh fuck, and he's still going, and then like there was one particular scene, that elevator scene, beats the shit out of the guy.
Yeah. And I saw they just continued doing it after the guy was already dead.
Yeah, the sheer extremes that scene goes to. 3 people left the theater.
Left the theater?
Yeah, three people left the theater.
I don't think I've
they're
seen
like
people
so outside of the scope of what they were ready for, I guess. But for me, that's like what I go to a movie for. Is like, this is so fucking nuts. This is not what I expected. This is awesome. It's got the like. Do you like Quentin Tarantino movies?
Sorta.
That whole thing where like you'll have the drawn out dialogue sequences that are very tense because they have all these implications behind the dialogue. Like say like the Inglourious Basterds like bar scene. You're waiting, or like
I don't know. It depends.
Or like basically like the ones where like the Jews were under the floorboards the whole time, and you're like they're talking about like milk or whatever the fuck, and you're like, oh fuck, where is this gonna go?
Those are okay. It's just there's certain moments where I'm just kind of like, okay, you gotta hurry up.
Yeah.
Like I get it. You're
like,
trying to like build suspense. You're trying to build like, what's gonna happen next? Oh my god, what's gonna? And it's like sometimes I'm just kind of like, that's fine. But this movie isn't. This movie
in
isn't
this
hurry
case,
up.
in this case, that's the thing where the scenes are shorter than that. They're not that drawn out, and they actually have significantly less dialogue. What they do is they'll take these little like 1 or 2 word phrases that they exchange here and there, and lots of like just the right subtle like facial expressions and camera angles and stuff, where you have all these layers to what's going on in one scene, and it knows how to use silence, if you know what I mean. Like it'll have a scene where there'll be a pause between 2 people talking, and you know exactly what that pause means, which is such a bizarre concept. But it's like I compare it to Tarantino, not because it has the exact same scripting, because it's like the opposite in many ways, but it has that same like scene pacing.
Yeah.
Where like you have the scene that's longer than it would be in any other movie if it wasn't made by this director. But because it's that length, they actually make it do stuff that it wouldn't do otherwise. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I've said a few movies this year were my favorite movie of the year, because obviously as the year goes on, you kind of just say that throughout the year. But we're getting towards the end, and this is quite possibly going to be my favorite movie of the year at the end of the year. And that's basically replacing Hannah. It's not Fast and the Furious. Don't expect endless car scenes and stuff. Expect a movie about a person that gets involved in a mob situation that you genuinely care about, and then you realize maybe he's not the great person that you think he is, and like it's a really fucked up movie, and it's fun.
Yeah, so basically Drive explains his profession.
Yeah.
That's it.
Basically.
The trailer makes it look like it's 100% driving movie.
And between all 3 of these movies we just did, I hate trailers so much right now.